A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus took Peter, John, James, and went up to the mountain to pray. And while he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothes became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, and becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. And as they were about to part from him, Jesus said, "Master, it is good that we are here, so let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying, and while he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them. And then they became frightened when they entered the cloud. And then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my son, listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone and fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. Do, 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 do. O come, Emmanuel. No, I have not gotten confused. And at this midsummer's point, I am not starting to sing Christmas songs, although I was down the shore the other day and it seemed like there was Christmas in July. But on this Feast of the Transfiguration, I can only think of that Advent song, O come, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, God with us. Because in this scene on the mountain, Peter, John, and James, they get a little glimpse, a rather dramatic and even frightening glimpse of a Jesus who they now say the Son of Man is with them, and therefore he is the Son of God among them as a human being, as one of them. They get a glimpse of that incredible act of the incarnation, Emmanuel, God with us. Now, there had been, of course, a sense throughout salvation history that God was accompanying people, that God was active in history to some extent, being present, revealing God's self in certain ways, in direct ways. But in this mountaintop, these three followers of Jesus get kind of an overloaded sense of God accompanying them and being really present to them in this very dramatic way. So much so, as I said, that they become frightened. But eventually, as they lift up, they are able to come to know and see that this Jesus is the one whom they now need to follow all the more closely. They will descend the mountain and go into Jerusalem and deal with some very hard stuff. But they know and are reaffirmed in the idea that they're accompanied by God, and they're responding to journey on that journey God has set out for them. And so there's a way in which we, and all of us, can understand more deeply how it is that as we celebrate the transfiguration of God, we look at our own lives and know that we can at times, at different times in our lives, get those reminders that do kind of transfigure or reshape or reground our lives so that we can have a better sense of God. Just recently, someone asked me to look at a small podcast on NPR, part of one of their podcasts. I can't remember which one, but it's about the work of a researcher at Columbia University, Dr. Lisa Miller, and her work on how she really has come around to embrace, as a scientist and a skeptic, she's embraced this idea that a sense of spirituality is really, really important for people in their mental health journey. And she has seen people who have felt complete despair with a renewed sense of God, allows them to be able to have their journey open up in a new way. Allows them, as she said in that podcast, to enter into life again. And it'd be interesting to look at her work. She has a new book out, apparently, that explores all of this incredible research with lots of data that says a sense of spirituality and even a sense of religion are absolutely helpful to giving people that larger sense of self and a bigger picture and a sense of accompaniment so that they can step forward in a much healthier way, a fuller way, live life more fully. And that's what Jesus is really sharing with his followers in today's gospel, that as they enter into this scene with Jesus and come to know the Lord who shines, whose very self was shining, that they are now with him in a special way that allows them to understand more fully that this God, their God, accompanies them in a special way so that whatever lies ahead, they can handle. They can handle because they know that there's a bigger picture and a fuller life and a God who's going to be present to them no matter what. So friends, as we continue to journey in ordinary time, not the Christmas season, so we don't have to start kicking into Advent or Christmas songs just yet, but we should know that the incarnation, the real presence of God among us, the Emmanuel, God who's with us on this life's journey, is something that we mark in this Feast of the Transfiguration. Let us, knowing that God is with us in every step of our life's journey, reshape and reform and reground our lives so that we too can rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. Emmanuel. God is with you and with me, all of us. Amen.